Hello and welcome to the U.S. Cyber Games Fireside Chat. My name is Nathan Ord, and today I am joined by Dr. Josh Brunty, head coach of the U.S. Cyber Team. Welcome, Dr. Brunty, and if you don't mind, give us a little bit of an introduction of yourself and we can get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Dr. Josh Brunty. I'm the head coach of the U.S. Cyber Team. I've been the coach for the Cyber Team since August of last year when we named the coaches. So uh, my job by day is I'm an associate professor of cybersecurity at Marshall University. I also serve as the research director for our Institute of Cybersecurity. So that's what I do by day. And then by night, we work with the cyber team in preparation for the international cybersecurity competition in Chile and also getting prepped for the European cybersecurity competition, which is coming up the beginning of October in Italy. And that is pretty much the gist of what my role is in terms of the US Cyber Games.
Sweet. And I guess follow-up question on that. What is your educational background? How did you get to where you are today?
Certainly. So I started as an undergraduate at Marshall University. So I grew up in southern West Virginia and decided to stay home for college. So I went and went to Marshall University for college. Uh, Sort of dual majored in criminal justice and started out as a math major and realized that I didn't want to be a math teacher. So I decided to pick up computer science. And obviously, coming from a family of cops and law enforcement, I decided that it might be a good idea to marry up the two. And obviously, digital forensics and cybersecurity and just forensics in general was kind of a normal, gravitational fit. So from there, majored and finished up at Marshall University, and then went on to grad school doing the same stuff, and ultimately kind of parlayed into getting my PhD in information technology from Middle Georgia State down in Macon, Georgia, and focusing specifically on cybersecurity competitions as a PhD dissertation.
Sounds like a lot of fun. And through your education and work experience, it sounds like you've also been able to, as you mentioned, sort of marry a lot of those different interesting topics that you've had background experience with. So, I guess when it comes to cybersecurity specifically, and kind of leading into that, what is your passion? What makes you tick when it comes to cyber?
Well, what makes me tick? The big thing is the competition. I've been doing cyber competition since I've been in college. So got in on the ground level of those, working with CTFs and specifically defense competitions like CCDC. So from a player standpoint, I was doing it, solving cases by day and working in government cases by day, but the evenings were spent trying to solve puzzles and other CTFs. So really had a passion for it from a very early on phase. Kind of set it down for a little while because of work, and I wouldn't say I ever got away from it, but when I got back into academia, just picking back up and starting a cyber team at Marshall University was a big thing. So um, that was what got me back into it. I wanted to build a competitive cyber team, and we successfully did that at the university and won a couple of NCLs and placed very high in that, and then decided from some individuals, reaching out that maybe the U.S. cyber team, was something that we may jump into, and went from there and jumped in, and the rest is history. So really, the big thing that makes me tick is just the figuring out of things, taking something that is almost unsolvable and trying to figure out a way to solve it. That's the most fun of this.
So you kind of mentioned it already too, and I want to circle back on it. You mentioned being a player in many CTFs prior to getting involved with the U.S. Cyber Games. So could you expand on your experiences as a player in different competitions? I guess this can also be an opportunity for you to, glow on yourself a little bit and explain what you've done in the past.
Absolutely. So I got involved in the very ground levels of collegiate cyber defense competition. And honestly, considering looking at the landscape now, it's completely different than it was 15 years ago. You didn't have a lot of CTFs going on. You had the DEF CON CTFs, which is a very kind of unorganized. You're in the hotel rooms and playing with other players. You had ShmooCon had things going on. We had Network King of the Hill at Secure WV. So imagine, the time that I came through was like almost a homebrew industry, if you want to think of it. Back, what you would experience with computing back in the 1970s. That's what CTFs and cyber competitions were in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. So, jumping back into it now, which I got into it about 2013 when I actually jumped back into the game, the landscape had completely changed. So it was, you're taking a lot of the same knowledge, but you're applying it to competitions like NCL. So I was playing on team games with NCL and really having good success with playing and representing the university in that regard. So really, National Cyber League kind of got me back into the game between that and CCDC. Outside of that, playing a little bit of Pico CTF myself, and dabbling, back into that was something that I got into as well. And then from there, just really decided, hey, I'm going to sort of retire for the next couple of years and let, the really good, sharp minds like Chris Holler, our red versus blue coach, Jacob Elliott, doing CTF, and just be ancillary support and do what I'm good at, which is, knowing what it takes to get, a first place finish, because, we've been there, we've been able to do that and know all the working pieces to do that. So we have a phenomenal staff that I think will put us over the top this year. And statistically, we're moving towards that direction.
So I guess you kind of teed it up. Actually, what makes you excited about the U.S. Cyber Games in particular, and I guess bringing things to the present as well? And then what are you hoping to see or looking forward to for season 4 of the U.S. Cyber Games? You mentioned the first place and what have you, so don't know if you can expand on that anymore.
No, absolutely. I think the thing that's exciting the most is we actually have the talent, both on the team and the pipeline and the coaching staff and the ancillary staff, to go and win a world competition, which we've had that in the past. We were building towards that. So everyone that was in the program before could see that we're trending towards that. So I think as you're building out any good team, in your first couple of seasons, you're filling out the competition. You don't know what to expect. You can have phenomenal talent, but if you don't have experience in the competition, it was a new territory for us. And I think we've gotten through those first couple of seasons. We know exactly what to expect. So we have experience, we have the talent, we have the people that are working in the background that are putting these things together, people like yourself, people that have a passion that may not be, going to Chile and Italy and competing, but are part of bringing home a world finish. And I can't think of anything better to say, 50 years from now, when you're talking to your grandkids and, you're telling these stories that you were able to go and, beat teams, not just a team from Europe, but beat Team Europe, beat Team Asia, beat Team Canada, which we, obviously, hopefully we'll beat Team Canada. I hope we beat Team Canada, and I hope we beat Team Oceania, because they were talking trash the other day out on a podcast. So I'll throw that out there in case they listen to it. But the most fun of it is being able to represent your country and do something that we've never been able to do before, which is, create a story that we want to talk about one of these days. And I think that's the important part of it.
So I want to ask another question about building out that team, but before we get there, I want to ask a follow up of, you mentioned the like interactions between teams around the world when it comes to these competitions. Can you speak to those international relations, especially as they relate to the world of cybersecurity, and maybe talk about how important those are? Because I would argue that having these connections, these communications, are huge for what we do.
Oh yeah, they're phenomenal. I mean, we are very tightly knit with these teams, and I know we jab at each other and we joke around and we play, but at the on the national stage, they're all our allies, and they're the ones. If we go to war, we're fighting with them, right? So, we jest and we have these friendly banters back and forth that we're going to beat each other and all of that, but at the end of the day, we're all competitors and we're friends. And at the international competitions, we spend time with each other. We hang with each other after the competition. We talk to each other between seasons. So I have very good working relationships with the coaches. I'm getting to meet these coaches. Not just from a professional level, but from a personal level, because we're out to achieve the same thing, to teach this and make the field better, to give visibility in what we do, and that we're not just doing some competition to be doing it, that these skills translate into the workforce. So I think we're coming together, not just because the ICC is a rather new thing. ECSC has been out for a while, but ICC is only in its third season. So we're all kind of learning this landscape together. And I think we're coming in on the ground level of something that's going to be maybe bigger than what we might imagine in 20 years, or at least I hope it is. So I think that'll be fun to kind of keep these relations going and make this competition stronger in preceding years. And I encourage anyone that wants to get involved in this to get involved in this, because you get a lot of international dialogue going on. It's really phenomenal.
So I guess teeing off of that, we talked a little bit then about international relations helping us build skills in cybersecurity. Bringing it back home a little bit and building the U.S. team specifically. What are you looking for in recruiting cyber athletes for the team?
Well, one of the things we're looking for is a combination of experience and talent. We bring in a lot of talent onto our team, but in this type of competition environment, talent is usually drawn from experience. And I tell anyone that is in our open or wanting to get involved in our open, you're not going to know everything in your first competition. So just keep signing up, keep playing, play a CTF every weekend or what time allows. If you don't have time for that, don't play a CTF, but get involved in it. And from the experience of playing, you will see another challenge that mimics what you saw maybe 6 months ago. And that will help, in a team competition or an individual competition, put you over the top in a solve, or, help you clear out a board in a competition. So, I think one of the things that we're looking for, I know that I'm looking for as a head coach, is if we get down in an environment in ICC, I want to know that I'm putting the 15 or 20 best, 10 or 15, depending on the competition, of players that when we get a hard challenge, that they can work together to solve that from their experience, and being collected and level headed, that they can solve that. Those are the things that we're looking for, not just in the open, but in the combine and ultimately to draft day. So I say this to any aspiring cyber competitors that out there that are wanting to dip their toes in this. If you're in middle school, you're in high school, just keep playing. Just keep playing the competitions. If you're not good now, if you keep playing, you will be good. And if you get involved in programs like our program, I can promise you, even working in through our pipeline, at some point you will bust through and potentially, become a, working member of our team. Even if not, even if you don't make it past the pipeline, you are still going to be a phenomenal value in your workforce. Even if you don't make it past the open, you're still going to be phenomenal in your workforce. It's all about experience. And I think that's the important thing. I wasn't the best competitor when I played. I knew I wasn't the best competitor, but I love competing. So, uh, just kind of relish the moment while you're in it, and take it as an opportunity to kind of build your future out. I don't believe that's about the best pathway that I can put you in for that answer.
Makes sense. I guess also follow up on that then. So you said experience is kind of the key thing and just going out and doing stuff. But with the team you have right now, what skills are you actively training for? And I guess another way to look at this, or what are some blind spots that you've identified that you're tackling that somebody down the line might be able to look at and say, hey, I can go learn this, and that might make me stand out above other people? I think there's an obvious joke here about cryptography, but we'll see what your answer is.
I think you asked a question that we all probably know the answer to, right? We're all weak here in the US in crypto, right? I think every team is weak in crypto. It's just the teams that want to admit it, whether or not they're good at it. But yeah, so obviously you want to look across the 6 domains that we actually see in competition. So you want to look at, so poke around on US cyber games, look at those 6 domains that we're looking at and pick one. I wouldn't say, when we're looking at draft day, obviously I'm not going to look at a person who's really good at web to expect them to be really good at forensics on top of that, and vice versa. A really good forensics player is probably going to be a little bit weak in web. So it would be great to have all 6 categories, but ideally you're not going to have that all the time. You may have a person that focuses primarily on attack and defense. Good example, Josiah Stearns. Josiah Stearns is a great all-around play. I would love. He's great in CTFs. He's good at forensics. He's good across the 6 categories, but he is an attack and defense type of player. So really, I would say if you have weaknesses, try to focus your efforts away from your weaknesses and try to get your strengths to shine. So that is a really good piece of advice to new players. Hone the skills that you really enjoy playing. If you love doing pwn, stick with pwn and make pwn your category. Sign up for competitions that are specifically focused on pwn. Collect statistics and NCL on that show. When we get down to looking at you as a player, do we look at you and say that's our pwn person? That's going to be the person that we're going to draft. But on top of that, there's some new skills that you probably want to start considering, and that is cloud and AI. Those are the 2 things we're going to see in competitions that none of us are ready for. We will see it in ICC. We will see it in probably the ECSC. And you are seeing it pop up in CTFs, but things like prompt injection attacks, data manipulation, things that are brand new to everyone. I see it showing up in CTFs. I know as a competitor, I wouldn't be ready for it. So if you're looking to hone new skills, look at cloud and AI, specifically like some of the big 3 stuff as well. So if you're looking at cloud, look at AWS, Google, and obviously Azure. Those are going to be the 3 cloud services I think we're bound to see, right? Because that's what most of the cloud info is based on. So you're going to see more like that pop up. And if you really want to shine and show value in season 4, maybe show that you have some value in that to us. And moving forward, I think that's a new skill set that might carve itself out of the traditional 6 skill sets that we've been looking for the past 3 seasons.
Sweet. And I think I was going to ask another question about different skills that you can gain that tie to real world. But I mean, realistically, I think you can tie a lot of CTF skills to real world concepts, real world applications. So I kind of want to jump over to something that we've really only hinted at, but it's kind of ever present in the background, which is soft skills. Important for, working on challenges with the team in this sort of environment. But what kind of skills in that domain can you gain from doing CTFs and working on these problems and what have you?
I think soft skills are the skills that bring home the championships. I've worked with a lot of teams over the years. I will say that as a coach and as a competitor, the most talented teams I've been involved in were not the ones that won. the most talented team, or the teams that brought home, first place NCL finishes, were the teams that had enough talent to win, but also had the communication skills to, when they got jammed up, to be able to communicate, hey, I'm stuck here, and know who to grab to help. So each other to the point of a team. So those soft skills are important. I've seen players get jammed up and not want to talk or not want to communicate because they're either too shy to pull someone out of the keyboard, or whatever the case may be. So having those skills to know, when that should happen and make those changes, is extremely important. On top of that, being able to articulate when you get stuck, when things are happening, when the pressure, the competition environment's in, to be able to communicate in that kind of environment. Those are things that I look for as a coach. So if you've been involved on a team that has won, I can tell by looking at your resume, that you've had those skills. You've been in an environment where you've been part of those skills. On top of that, they're transferable skills that work well in an interview as well. So if you're interviewing for a job, obviously we're looking for competitors between 18 and 25, which is the time you're looking for a job. So even working with the open and combine, you've got to go through interview practices with us as coaches. Part of that is going to be the experience of answering the same questions that you're going to have in an interview. So that interaction and dialogue is important, because the more that you invest in those soft skills, the more you're going to sharpen the hard skills on the other end. And I don't think a lot of individuals that are getting into this realize that your soft skills are the things that sharpen your hard skills. So that advice that I'm bringing out of that is, you really will shine more as an athlete by balancing those two skills out. So it's extremely important, and it's a lifetime skill that even when the hard skills start to dull, or become antiquated, you still have those soft skills to help sharpen.
So I guess we've covered pretty well all the bases of skills, including hard and soft skills. So I guess for people curious, and you've already kind of touched on this already, but if you don't know a lot about CTS, how would you get involved, and why should people get involved with the U.S. Cyber Games specifically?
Well, first off, our US Cyber Open's free. It's open. It's open to all ages. If you're wanting to dip your toes into it, or you're seasoned, and you're ready to make a stab to represent the US Cyber team, jump in there. If you're new to the games, it's a good way. We have a beginner CTF, which is a good ground level CTF to test your skills on. You don't have to pay for it. It's something that doesn't have a fee attached to it. They are written by people like us. So the good thing is, you're getting challenges that are developed by our coaches, developed by us, and we have phenomenal coaches that are putting that together for us. So you get to work in the beginner CTF. If you want to move up to the competitive CTF, you obviously have the opportunity to do that. If you are a little more experienced, you can request an invite to our combine. So if you have the experience and feel like, hey, I know I'm going to clear the board for competitive CTF, we have a new system in place. You can request the combine to the end, or request the invite to the combine. So, I can talk about CTFs and, in the NCL and Pico CTFs. Those are great ways to get in on the ground level, especially Pico, because you can play past challenges and, go in and look at what you've seen in the past. So those are all great, free, sort of, or somewhat free. NCL does have an entry fee for their spring and fall, but keep in mind there's also a lot. I could you could spend the next hour talking about good CTFs to play, but really I'm going to plug here our US Open Cyber, or US Open CTF, because I think that is a good place. If you're considering this, just go ahead and jump in. You will get involved in our Discord groups. You'll see what those other CTFs are, from not only our current competitors, but people that are in our pipeline and people that are also competing at the same time. So it is a group to get involved in, not just for challenges, but to intermingle with people that's in that organization that that really maybe have an ultimate goal of putting on a U.S. cyber jersey.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense, and it's kind of what I was after too. Is get people into this program and get those connections going, because again, you can make lifelong friends out of this program as well. Setting aside all the glory and fame of CTFs and traveling the world and all that, it's you get these really good connections with people. But yeah, I think that just about does it for us on time here. Do you have any closing thoughts, comments, or anything that you might want to end on?
The only thing I can think of is just get involved with the program. I mean, I can't think of anything more important than helping in some respects represent your country. And that is a very patriotic thing to get involved in. So there are many people working in the background that are involved in the pipeline, our Tiger teams, our coaches. Everyone that's involved in this program has this ultimate goal that we are going to put together the best team that we can. And I really feel like right at this moment in time, looking at what we have a very good opportunity to do well this year. And it's a lot of hard work from a lot of people. And I know that takes a lot of work to put together. We're working hard every single night almost of lectures, not only just in the pipeline, but for the team. We're meeting, we're taking time out of our days. So it's a lot of work. It really is. At the end of the day, but we all have a passion for that. And I think that if you're wanting to get involved in this, have that passion and always keep that in mind that this program is to me, it's just a little more special than everything else because we are the U.S. cyber team. And any way that you can get involved, we appreciate it. I see it, and I thank you all, every one of you all, for doing this because there is no way that we can do that for what we're just putting together a team and doing that. It takes a whole village to do that. So get involved, and it will at some point you will make lifetime connections that I promise you'll be glad that you got involved with.
All I have to say, the U.S. Cyber Team's an incredible force, and it'll be exciting to see where everybody goes here in the next season and this year as well. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Coach. Appreciate it very much, and look forward to watching you all this year.